you'll see are very much in line with the guidance that we had given in the previous quarter, and remain very much on track for the full year against all our strategic priorities. But just to start with some of the organizational announcements that you would have read about. My family circumstances require me to relocate to the UK to be with my family. Family reasons brought me to India, and family reasons are taking me back to the UK. And my plans are to pursue opportunities in the UK, but to maintain a strong India connect through certain assignments. Now is not the time, but over the coming weeks I'll share with you a bit more details of what my future plans are. What's very important is that we were able to agree with the board a very smooth transition, and it makes it much easier when the key building blocks are in place to then move to the next phase of a company's growth. So when I came to Cipla, I had 3 personal objectives that I had agreed with the promoters and the board. The first was to put in place a strategy to take Cipla onto the world stage. The second was to build a formidable management team and strong succession depth. On day one of any CEO's job, you have to start thinking about succession. And then the third priority was to facilitate the generational transition amongst the promoters. And if we look at what we've done on each of those, on the strategy, we took back control of our key markets in the emerging markets. We filled a major gap in our US portfolio with a big acquisition earlier this year. We've revamped the pipeline, now tracking close to 7% of sales on R&D, and our near-term launches are very much secure. We've become partner of choice with many companies to in-license and partner their products. And if we look at, Umang will share with you a little bit later, our key plans and our focus against the priorities that we set last quarter on making the US a major part of Cipla's business, growing India, continuing to leverage the investments we made in our front end. We're very much on track. So I think with the strategy in place, the other important priority had been to put a strong leadership team in place. I'm delighted to welcome Kedar to the organization, who will be the keeper of the numbers, and we're very pleased to have such an experienced professional join us, who brings beyond just finance capability but also strong business acumen. And he'll be working very closely with my dear successor, Umang Vohra. And if I can say, this is very much a textbook example of succession planning. As I said earlier, all of you who are CEOs out there, on day one, you need to think about bench building, think about succession planning. And so this has been a process for the last 2 years, and we brought in Umang as CFO and then as COO to really battle test him across different parts of the business. And timing you can never tell. My family situation requires me to go back, but I can do that knowing that we have a very strong leader in place to step up and take over and continue the momentum in the business. And it's been a real pleasure bringing Umang on board, seeing him grow, and leaving Cipla in excellent hands for the next phase of its growth. When it comes to the third priority, I had given my commitment to the promoters that I would mentor and coach the next generation of leaders in the family. And that's been an absolute pleasure and a privilege to be able to do that. And it's been wonderful seeing Samina grow over the last few years. She took on the mantle of strategy, M&A. She's also been driving a lot of our new business initiatives. So our consumer health business, our biologics business as examples, which are really now gearing themselves up to be major businesses of the future for the company. And it was felt within the promoters this was the right time to really affect that generational transition. And it's an absolute pleasure that we were able to confirm Samina as Executive Vice Chairman, who will still be mentored and coached by her father and her uncle. She's an integral part of the leadership team, and I think you now have in place a team that's got a strategy in place, got the priorities in place, and it's all about execution. And I think what I'd like to do is at this point then hand over to Umang who will take us through the results and the outlook, and then we'll open it up for some questions. So with that, welcome Umang, over to you.
Thank you, Sulan. And the acoustics are fine, but great opportunity, very exciting times for Cipla, for the company. I'll do a quick run through the results, and then we can maybe open up for Q&A if there's any that you would like to discuss. So if you go to maybe if you can, I have to do it myself. Okay. So overall, I think the company reported numbers, as most of you would have seen. Right. So I'd just like to talk to you about what are some of the key messages we'd like to give you as we've put out our numbers today. The first thing you should appreciate is that we have continued growth momentum across our key markets, and that's very important. Whether it's India, it's the US, it's South Africa, and several of our emerging markets, the growth momentum continues across all these markets. We'll talk about each of these markets separately because I know a couple of you may have questions about the India growth that we've reported, and we'll be happy to chat about that. We are also signaling that we've had a couple of challenging quarters in the past, and at this point in time, we're signaling that we're seeing the effect of base profitability improving, and actually we've seen EBITDA percentage of a base business going significantly higher than how we saw it in the previous couple of quarters. We've seen Invergen acquisition proceeding absolutely perfectly, as per our milestones, and it's been EBITDA accretive as we speak from the very first quarter of the full year. And we signaled that we would invest in R&D, and that's happening. You can see that overall R&D spend is now 7% of our revenue. So we're on track with our overall guidance. We've mentioned that we'd be 16 to 18% of sales on EBITDA, with about R&D bumping up to 7-8% levels, and we're there. And that's pretty much the quarter one numbers. Financial performance, I think you have this in the handouts that have been put out by the company. Overall EBITDA at 17%. Now you do see revenue down by 6%. I'd like to just keep you informed that the previous quarter of the last year, the same quarter in the previous year, had a huge amount of esomeprazole upside.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow, and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.